I don't need to remind you, but I will, that a healthy diet is now, and being overweight or obese, is actually now the leading cause of death and disability in Australia. So whilst we haven't totally sorted out the smoking issue, there are still groups within us community who still smoke too much. Overall, this is where it is when we're trying to influence health and wellbeing. It's about food and diet. And we often associate it with obesity, and here's our not so great statistics for Greater Bendigo. But let's not forget, and we've just heard from Michelle about the other outcomes that come from food, about, it's a social lubricant for our life, isn't it? It's what we come together. As we're all planning for Christmas, we're thinking about the food. What are we going to buy? What are we going to present? Who's going to bring what to the family do? So it's really important that we also recognise it has other implications. So it does have impacts on our mental health. It is that social lubricant that we need. It creates a sense of belonging, and as we've just heard, creates a whole range of other skills and abilities to function in society. So it's really a very important component of our lives. And as an ex-dietitian, who lives to eat, doesn't eat to live, food is I'm very passionate about food. I ate at your establishment last night and it was absolutely stunning, I should say. Took my husband there for a birthday. But food, it's the whole production, as we've heard from Amy. So here's a slide just reinforcing that. So it is about the production and processing and distribution and consumption. And it's sort of sad, again, as an ex-dietitian, to hear this theme about people not knowing how to prepare food. I'm an old-fashioned dietitian. We were taught to cook before we could be a clinical dietitian. I'm afraid that doesn't always happen anymore. So it really is important that we have all the skills. Now, as some of you would know, the city is responsible as the local government to lead the development of the Health and Wellbeing Plan for our community. We do it every 4 years. It's a requirement of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. And so we've created our plan, and I'd encourage you to check it out if you haven't seen it on our website, because it was developed with looking at the data, looking at policy and talking to the community and picking up themes from other community engagement that council does. Food came up as something that we needed much more focus on. So traditionally local government's been big in the exercise space, particularly in the organised sport and recreation space. We haven't probably had such a big role around food. So we're developing, like a lot of organisations, we're developing and building our capacity around this space. And these are just a few of the things that we've been working on. I'm just going to talk about a couple, and after me, Trevor's going to talk about the gastronomy work. So we're looking at it from a holistic point of view. So we're not just, whilst I look at it from a health point of view, Trevor looks at it from an economic development point of view. We are working in that whole cycle of food. So it's a bit rough to go out and tell other people how they should eat and how they should have healthy food if you don't do it yourself. So I can walk around work and find soft drink, and Amy talked about the giveaways at meetings, and we have the fundraisers in the tea rooms and all of those sorts of things. They're all not very healthy. So over the last 6 to 12 months, we've been doing consultation internally about moving to adopting a healthy catering policy. We're not going to go cold turkey because, frankly, people will go ballistic. So we're gradually going to introduce healthy choices, the state government guidelines, if you're not aware of them, across our organisation over the next 2 years. And it will challenge some people, but particularly the councillors, particularly one particular councillor, and it's not this one. If we're going to ask other groups and organisations to do the work around healthy food, then we need to do it ourselves. We're just finishing the process of creating a catering panel. So we've gone to the market because we do, as a council, purchase quite a lot of catering for various events, although after this policy we'll be probably purchasing a little less than we used to. But we have gone to and created a panel now of about 6 to 8 organisations who've committed to be able to provide us healthy choices. And it might well be over time we can encourage them to get out and promote their catering to other parts of the Greater Bendigo community so that you can use them too. We haven't just, in our healthy catering, we haven't just asked them about healthy food, we've also asked them about sustainability and waste and some of those other things, so that so we've taken a more holistic approach to the way we think about our healthy food. I'm on the right slide, aren't I? Yep. Another part of council, parks and open space and our environment area, are looking at urban agricultural guidelines. So one of the challenges of living in Greater Bendigo and producing your own food is remembering what the history of Greater Bendigo was and being sure that we're actually not going to harm anyone by getting them to grow food that has high levels of arsenic and other things that come from our gold mining history. So just helping people to think about if they're going to grow food, and we would like people to get involved in growing their own food, that they do it in a way that is safe. One of the roles of local government is, and I think we've got one of our environmental health officers here today, is making sure that our environment is safe. And so, you know, it's all very good to pick up your good nutrients, and then a hefty dose of arsenic as well wouldn't go down too well. So it's important that we get this really clear. So in trying to do the right thing, we don't create harm for people. The other thing we're doing, and we're very happy this year to have had funding approved by council for a food systems officer. So Beck is, she's got her hand up over here. So Beck has started with us, and her main role is to help us develop a 10-year food systems strategy. And that will cover the whole cycle of food, and it complements very well with the work that Trevor's doing around the City for Gastronomy. And our objectives are to try to work with our partners, hence you guys, about how we strengthen and support Bendigo's, Greater Bendigo's food system, and identify new and emerging opportunities, learn from what people are doing perhaps in smaller spots across the community, and see how we can actually disseminate those further. So, you know, what Michelle's doing there, that's just fabulous, isn't it? We need to find out where that's happening, and importantly where it's not happening, so that we can try to support it to happen in more places. And have a common sort of approach about how we're all going to work together. Council can't do this on their own, no organisation or community group can do this on their own. So, so hopefully, you know, today will feed into the development of that strategy, and there'll be more work, and there'll be, as councillors want to do, put out draft documents and various other things that people can make a contribution to and make a comment on, so that we get it right. It will look at things like food security, food literacy, production, processing, distribution, retail. You know, one of the challenges we've got at the moment is we're trying to get some of our larger recreation facilities to implement healthy choices, but they don't always have they don't always have food that they can buy to actually put in their cafeterias and cafes and so forth. So it's important that we get that pipeline happening, so that it's easy for us to say to the tennis centre and the stadium, we want you to do healthy choices, and by the way, here's a whole range of providers who can help, you can source product from, so they don't have to produce everything from scratch. So we do have an internal little working group working on this, and we will have some external consultation as well, so that we end up with a strategy that everybody can buy into. I noticed, Beck, we don't have a slide here on the food hub, but we probably should just mention the food hub work. So I think Jen's mentioned the feasibility for the Greater Bendigo Food Hub, and we are partnering with the Food Alliance and Food Share, and looking at where we can locate a food hub for Greater Bendigo that is much more than Food Share. Food Share would certainly be a foundation partner, but it's also opportunities to produce food for local producers to store and provide logistics for. So it's again looking at the whole system. We're at the moment we're shortlisting our sites, and then we'll get to the next stage for us is the business plan, and then we'll be talking to our hopefully good funding partners, Regional Development Victoria and others, about how we can source the funding to do this, to create this food hub for Greater Bendigo, which we're very excited about, and certainly we're hearing more and more this is an approach that's happening across the world. So they're just a few things that are happening at the city, and hopefully complements of the strategy. We'll have a lot more things that we'll be doing over time, but as I said, we don't want to do this work on our own. We want to partner with you and with people that you know and other community groups so that we actually make a real difference in this space. So thank you for your time.